In 2001, I was in the 6th grade. Almost everything in the world was super cool and not a national tragedy. I had just gotten braces, I drank 3 Pepsi Blues a day, and LimeWire was installed on my computer. You could ask anyone on AOL Instant Messenger and they would tell you. I was a certified cool kid. But if you ask me what was really cool, what was fucking sick, I would have told you 2 things. My best friend Jake Shapiro and my 6th grade DARE officer, Deputy Pruitt. Unfortunately, the 2 coolest, sickest fucking things in my life would force me to choose between them. You may have heard, but Jake Shapiro was the coolest kid on planet Earth. He had bleach-spiked hair. He had a chain wallet. His mom packed him glass Starbucks Frappuccino bottles for lunch. For our 6th grade historical biography report, where we had to dress up as our person, Jake Shapiro did his report on Kurt Cobain. I asked my dad if I could also do my report on Kurt Cobain. He said no. He forced me to be the other cool guy who died, Julius Caesar. Jake got a C because he quoted lyrics from a certain Nirvana song that you shouldn't quote on an elementary school campus. I haven't had enough time to go through the Solana Santa Fe Elementary School archives, but I am confident that, within the auditorium, the chorus of Nirvana's Rape Me has been sung exactly 1 time. I got a B- because although I gave a strong performance, it was clear that I actually read a book about Alexander the Great. Deputy Pruitt did not do a 6th grade biography report because he was a grown man. He was a cop who came to our school and told us stories, and then made us promise to be drug-free. The stories he told were mostly about kids he knew, named Joe or Jill, who were really cool and talented, but then they had a sip of beer and died. He made us watch a cartoon movie where a cigarette was a monster that chased some kids. The kids got away, but just when they thought they were safe, a giant marijuana leaf with fangs popped out from the shadows. Only an idiot could look at a drawing of a leaf with a scary face and be convinced of living a drug-free life. But by every standardized and intuitional measurement, I was that idiot. I was dumb in a way that did not produce concern or sympathy, but a deep anger in the people attempting to teach me things. I was incapable of critical thinking. So yes, the DARE program resonated deeply within my soul. When we weren't watching cartoons or mourning the deaths of hypothetical children, Deputy Pruitt told us, a class of 6th graders, what being drug-free meant to him. Being drug-free was important to Deputy Pruitt because on July 12th, 1990, Deputy Pruitt shot a person. I wish I could provide more context to that story, but I don't remember the details. What I do remember is that Deputy Pruitt shot a person on the exact day I was born. I remember telling my dad this, and he responded with concerned follow-up questions. To all of them, I responded, I don't know. But Deputy Pruitt is drug-free, and so am I. Jake Shapiro and Deputy Pruitt spoke in exact terms. They knew exactly how the world worked. They knew exactly what people needed to do to be cool, to be right. This was intoxicating to me because I knew exactly nothing. I never knew what page we were on in class. I did not know when homework was due. On multiple occasions, our school's janitor would say to me, "Keith, look around. Do you see any other children on the playground? Do you think we do recess one child at a time?" But before I could answer, it would be Jake who would come running out of class to shepherd me back to the herd. Jake Shapiro and Deputy Pruitt were my guiding lights, my two North Stars. Technically speaking, if you are using two North Stars to guide you, you should probably have someone else look at the sky. But even me, who a teacher once described on a report card as cartoonishly absent-minded, could tell that, although held in equal high regard, Jake and Deputy Pruitt were opposing forces. Jake and I sat next to each other in DARE class. Deputy Pruitt just wrapped up another story about how being drug-free made him a better cog in the machine of our unrelenting police state. Now, if I had to describe what Deputy Pruitt looked like, I would say, ironically, not drug-free. He was an older man, balding on the top, and had a gut that rested on the hammer of his service weapon. He had these giant dilated eyes that stuck out of his head and never blinked. His police standard cop mustache was uneven, uncombed, and unwilling to comply with resting peacefully on his thin lips. I hate to play devil's advocate, but I think the only reason he was able to shoot that guy on my birthday was because he was on a lot of drugs. But after Deputy Pruitt told his story, he left us with a tangible metaphor. He blew up a balloon with his mouth and taped it to the whiteboard. "I want this balloon to remind you all to stay drug-free. This balloon is filled with life, and staying drug-free will keep you feeling alive." If I was a skeptical person, I might have thought, isn't that balloon going to eventually deflate on its own, meaning that we as a class have no choice but to eventually succumb to drugs? But in 2001, I was not skeptical. I was a kid who believed in the power of a balloon. And we never had to see the balloon deflate, because when Deputy Pruitt walked away from the whiteboard, Jake Shapiro threw his mechanical pencil at the balloon and popped it. Holy shit. Jake Shapiro popped the DARE balloon. Was that cool? Yes. Jake Shapiro threw a mechanical pencil like a ninja star, and something blew up. It's pure bad boy material. But the balloon was cool too. That was our drug-free balloon, and we only got to be sober for like 30 seconds. I pulled Jake aside after DARE class. I never asked Jake for anything because just by existing, he literally gave me everything. "Jake," I said, "I need you to promise me that we are going to stay drug-free forever." He looked at me and ripped his heart out with his admission. "One time, before I went to ultrazone laser tag with Ricky De La Fuente, I saw my sister smoking weed in her car. Then, she gave me a ride in that car." So there it was. Jake Shapiro had literally gotten into a car with the weed monster. If Jake sat in that car, that weed monster probably touched him. There was only one conclusion I could make. Jake was a drug addict. 2001 was becoming less cool. My drug balloon was popped. Jake Shapiro was a weed monster. My braces hurt. LimeWire and the videos I downloaded off of it broke my computer. And for 2 hours, my older brother convinced me that my favorite Pokemon was real, but died in 9/11. Lost a lot of good Pokemon that day. With Jake drifting into the 6th grade underbelly of Schedule I controlled substances, I was untethered to all that was cool. And at this point, even the AOL community could no longer verify my coolness. Despite my screen name being what I thought was an extremely cool ode to my favorite skateboarding company's kid-friendly mascot, my screen name, Flameboy42, got me a high volume of unwanted attention from the adult, gay, cyber community. But the worst was yet to come. We ended DARE with a drug-free fun day. Awards were given out for the best essay about being drug-free. My essay did not win because I left my backpack on the bus. After the awards, we went out to the field and played games that Deputy Pruitt clearly made up while he was on coke. I got selected from the crowd to play a game involving teams, gigantic nets, and rubber chickens Deputy Pruitt threw in the air. The theme of this game was teamwork and collecting good habits. He would take a handful of chickens and throw them into the air at once, and we would have to work together to catch the chickens before they hit the ground. Jake Shapiro was on my team. It felt nice to reunite as a dynamic duo with a bad boy edge. And maybe Jake would learn something from catching these chickens in the net and stop getting into marijuana cars. Maybe I could be his balloon. It's a heartwarming story. It's a heartwarming story. The game started, and it was going well. The game was tricky, the nets were tough to move, and Deputy Pruitt had a throwing motion that made me question if he should be allowed to have a gun. The next rounds of chickens were tossed, and I tried to move our net, but it wouldn't. I looked at Jake. Jake was picking chickens up off the ground and putting them in our net. It was cheating. "Let's win," Jake said. You are never going to believe this, but I didn't stop to think. I just did what Jake told me to do. I started picking up chickens. I could hear the crowd bristle. The game ended. Deputy Pruitt counted everyone's chickens. When he counted ours, he looked at me with pride. To him, we clearly worked together and picked up a lot of good habits. But the crowd knew the truth. Screams of, "They cheated," and "They picked the chickens up off the ground," were loud and consistent. Deputy Pruitt asked me, "Did you pick the rubber chickens up off the ground?" "Yes," I said. And then Deputy Pruitt addressed the crowd. "If you want to be drug-free, you can't be a cheater. This is what not being drug-free looks like." Looking back now, this is the most insane thing to address a situation, and it all but confirms that Deputy Pruitt was on drugs for the entirety of my interactions with him. But right then and there, I was a drug addict. To the drug-free fun day community, I was the drug addict. Jake Shapiro got me hooked on drugs and everyone saw. In reality, I was not addicted to drugs. I was addicted to being an idiot. If I paid any meaningful attention in DARE class or developed the ability to form thoughts, I would have known that you can't get addicted to drugs by picking a rubber chicken up off the ground. Jake Shapiro and I fell out of touch. Last I heard, he was selling custom lighters in Portland. So it's safe to say that Jake Shapiro remained as cool as hell. I didn't keep in touch with Deputy Pruitt because in what universe would that make sense? This July, I will have been an idiot for 36 years. I've had occasional moments of clarity, moments where I can pay attention to context clues, and read short books the whole way through. Just last spring, I celebrated a one-day Wordle streak. Recently, after asking for permission, I logged on to the World Wide Web and looked up DARE. Following a series of studies from the early 2000s, funding for DARE was greatly reduced on account of the program being harmful and counterproductive. I know it's unlikely, but it's strange to think that somewhere in the crowd at my drug-free fun day, a paid researcher watched me get named a likely drug addict for cheating in a rubber chicken net game and made the recommendation to kill the program. If that did happen, I have mixed feelings. Yes, the DARE program, even now, seems stupid, harmful, and counterproductive. But guess what? So am I. Thank you.